Welcome to the Kidmin Huddle with Amber Pike, where children's ministry leaders get equipped, encouraged, and empowered to disciple with intentionality, growing God's kingdom one child at a time.
Welcome back to the Kidmin Huddle. We are joined by a super cool ministry that I have just found out about recently called Mud Hen Mama. Michelle, you are owner, CEO, creator, amazing woman behind it. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I'm excited to be on.
So we at Renew Nation are fans of Mud Hen Mama, and I've been digging into a little bit more of what you do and what your ministry does, and I'm excited to share it with our Kidmin friends that are listening. So go ahead, start us out strong. Tell us about you and what Mud Hen Mama is.
Okay, well, I started this ministry I was trying to think back. It was right around 2020, but that's when sort of the first thoughts of putting together a book provider, an online book provider came into my head. And then it was like a few months after, it was around 2021 is when I started to get to contact schools and getting my list together of books. At the time, I was familiar with a lot of homeschooling books because I had homeschooled for about a year and a half, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and I loved all the books that I found that, I wasn't familiar with because I wasn't I had just never homeschooled. So I thought, wow, these would be so great to share with other families, that I think it would be such a blessing. So that's what sort of I started off with. It was not a lot. I mean, I think maybe we had like 50 or 60 titles, not a lot, but like I said, I just went ahead and I started contacting schools. I grabbed the ACSI list of schools and started off in California, and I just went across. And yeah, I just think, the reason why I started, again, back to the 2020, is that I had already seen a lot of things that were very much bothering me that I had seen with my kids bringing home, the flyers that were selling books to my children. And so, our kids were going to a Christian school, but, Scholastic was definitely, I mean, it's everywhere. And so, and in general, I just never thought about it. But when I was flipping through, I realized that it was just very junky. Like it wasn't, to use a Charlotte Mason word, it was like twaddle. Like there was nothing edifying about it. And I thought, why I don't want to purchase books like this for my kids. Like I want them to actually have some things that make them think, some books that will, I don't want them to just be completely dry, but fun and interesting, and not just, Cheetos for the brain is how I always describe it. So there was that. And then there was also, with 2020, there was a lot of cultural stuff happening, and stuff that I hadn't even, I didn't realize it was so to the breaking point, I guess, of just the insanity of what happened. And so, that was something else that I thought, what, we've got to have a place, Christians have to have a place where we can have resources that can be edifying and helpful to navigate the current cultural moment. So, and I have found that a lot of churches just did not want to wade into those waters. It was extremely disappointing. I was so sad because I thought, we're all on the same team. Let's move forward. And I felt like I was just out there on my own, and really sad that was the case. And so a lot of these issues I had, I was always concerned about, I guess, like, specifically CRT, which critical race theory. I'm Hispanic, so, I know a lot of the issues. I've been on both sides of this equation, and so I'm very familiar with all the arguments. And, as I matured as a believer, I realized there's definitely a lot of things wrong with, the more of the leftist ideology, and they just weren't being talked about in church. So again, all of these things were just sort of merging at one time. And so I thought, like, at least let's start off with kids' books. But the whole time I was thinking, I want this for the entire family, because I want to be able to enable not only the children, but the parents, because the parents are the ones who are supposed to be stewarding our children. And so I wanted to be able to have like awesome books, whether that's apologetics or CRT or gender ideology or abortion, like, pro-life stance, I wanted to have all those books in one place that so families can go and just know, okay, I can get great books at this, at this site. So that's what we've tried to do. Every few months we try to, I mean, usually, one or two a week. It ends up being that, we're adding books, but it's usually a larger number of books in the summer and at Christmas, because that's usually the time when there aren't a million things happening with respect to book fairs and stuff, and also just kids activities and stuff, of course. So so right now we have over 2,500 titles, and we have achieved that pre-K all the way through adult. We have parenting books, we have cultural books, we have classics, we have mysteries, we have just we try to make it so that everyone can find a couple books that they would, minimally a couple books that they could really enjoy. And so we have that. We also have book bundles. So, if a child really loves dogs, we have a dog book bundle. Or if, somebody wants to learn about apologetics, and we have an apologetics bundle. I think we have about 12 book bundles, and we also have like a membership program, so a family book savings club, where if a family wants to have books on the regular coming in, that we could customize it as well. So if somebody would want to have, let's say, like I said, so like specific books, like they really like graphic novels, or they really like a specific something or other, then we would talk, and we'd be able to send those books, specifically those books for the family's needs. So so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide something that they can cancel if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, but that it's something that they can look forward to getting, every month. And there's different levels, and just something that could be a huge blessing. And of course, it's discounted if, whether you get one subscription or two subscriptions, depending on how large your family is and what the needs are. So anyway, so we have a lot of things going on at Mud Hen Mama. Really excited about it. We're just trying to get the word out to everyone about what we're trying to do. So.
I love it. I love it. I talk frequently about resources and books, and you can't just pick a book off of Amazon and give it to your kids and expect it to be okay. You can't.
It's crazy. It's crazy because I knew it was bad, but I don't think I realized how bad it was. I know that this was something else that happened a few years ago. My daughter was reading the Wings of Fire series. It's super popular. And it was fine until, she was reading, and she said, "Mom, is this what I think it is?" Mm-hmm. And it was clearly LGBTQ, like, identification, and it wasn't necessary at all, but they just sort of threw it in there. And that's the problem with a lot of the books. I mean, I actually was looking to see, like, clearly there's been an increase in the number of LGBTQ books. But what I didn't realize is that, so there was from the past 10 years, apparently the self-publishing world has just exploded. So, in 2015, 2014, there were barely any self-published books, but now there's like a ton. So I think that has added to the problem. But there has been an increase. It depends on, I guess, where the numbers are coming from. But I've seen anywhere from 200 to a 900% increase in LGBTQ titles. And that's just titles. I don't even think that's including, those off characters
where they slip it in. Yeah.
Where they sort of slip it in to normalize it. And, it's not that I think that we should be uncompassionate, I guess is the best way to say it. Like, obviously there's an issue, and we do have to have compassion, but there's no reason why these characters need to be normalized into the literature that our children are reading. Especially, they're impressionable, they don't understand the implications of all of it, and it's maddening because you may not even realize. You look at the title and you would have no idea. There's several books that have been like that. There was even a book that, and I'm not going to remember the name of it, but there was a book that we had on our site, and I had no idea. I thought it was completely fine, and then somebody contacted me, and actually it was on screen at first. It's actually a wonderful website for everybody to check out. It's a place where all of the books are reviewed, but no one actually writes anything. You just take pictures of anything that's questionable, whether it's violent themes, or if they're LGBTQ, or if there's magic, anything like that, you take a picture of it and you highlight it. And so, people can see for themselves and decide, whether or not this is something that you want to expose your child to. But anyway, it was on screen at first that it was shown to me that it wasn't, I thought it was a stepmother and like from two different marriages, but it was actually a couple that was two females. And so we pulled the title right away, but it's so snuck in there that it's very, very hard to discern. So, we have that it's 1 out of 2,500. So, I think we've done a pretty good job, but, we're trying to, like I said, we vet every single book to make sure that, that they are aligned with a biblical worldview. They're not all Christian books in the sense of they're not all sharing the gospel, but they are all sharing something that's good, beautiful, and true, which is, I think it's super important, like, because we don't want to just take out of the picture. There's so many classics and so many beautiful stories that don't necessarily, claim the name of Christ, but they're showing Christ. And, because we all know all truth is God's truth. And so they're sharing a truth that's important to understand. So we have included some of those books as well.
So I warn parents, or I warn children's ministry leaders to never send something home without looking through it, because I've found, even in the Christian publishing world, things that are just so anti everything the Bible. And I'm encouraging them, to read it, to check it, to think through. So I kind of have my rubric, if you will, of my checklist of what I'm looking through. When you were looking at a new title, what are some of the things that you were looking through to check and see, does it line up with a biblical worldview? Or in the case of something that's, not necessarily Christian, what would be your kind of standard for, okay, yes, this is good, beautiful, true, it's okay to read? What would be a couple of your things that you're gauging books with?
The biggest thing, honestly, that I do is I'll go and I'll look at the different reviews that have been posted. So I'll look and I'll see, okay, these are the good reviews, and then I look at the 1-star reviews and I say, okay, what exactly is being shared that, if it's a 1-star review because the pages were bent, okay, well, obviously that doesn't matter. But if it's something else, then I just say, okay, well, this isn't going to fit. We do try to include as many titles as possible, but we're not going to include anything that's, I don't know, that's for lack of a better word, sketchy. That if it's questionable at all, we're just not going to include it. There was a book that was actually very highly rated. I was just looking at yesterday, and I noticed that the author actually had in her title that she was an activist. And I thought, even though there's nothing in there that's probably going to, go against that good, beautiful, and true, I just think I'm not going to include that because it's in one of those sort of sketchy areas that I'm just not comfortable sharing with other people, because I know if I wouldn't want it for my child, then I'm not going to have it for someone else. So that's sort of what we normally do. So if there's, like I said, if there's anything that's questionable, then it's definitely not going to be included. But, if it's on a book list, we've gotten a ton of titles that have been on different book lists, like whether that's a school book list, like for summer reading, or, a Christian book list that is from someone that we know is reliable, then, we try to include those. Actually, we had a ton of books that was shared by Renew a Nation. So we included a lot of those as well. So that's how we've pretty much done it. And then now it's there was a time where I was adding maybe 40 books or 50 books, and at this point our the selection is pretty good, but we're just adding one at a time. So last night we added a couple of Sophie Mouse, super cute books, very benign, and my children love it. So that's, if I know it has obviously we always have to be careful because stuff gets stuck in, just like Wings of Fire. But if I know that it's been pretty solid, then I usually just try to, I will include it. So,
yeah. I like what you said about the author, because I absolutely have some authors that I will look nothing from them. I'm like, if I've heard you say something that is counter to God's word, I want nothing of your stuff. And so there are a couple of authors on my no list. I think I told you this before, I have a box of shame in my basement, in my office, and my son finds this hilarious. And it's literally labeled, because why not, box of shame. And this is where I put the stuff that is just so anti-God, wrong theology, some of this, really bad. There was one that I got from a publisher, and this was the story of Jesus's birth, except they made it a Native American tale. And so Mary got
You're
a new
kidding.
name. No. And this, so here's my argument against not always completely trusting those reviews. This book was getting all these wonderful reviews. People just loved it, and Mary had a new name, and Jesus's name meant something, and people were so excited about, oh great, you're bringing the story of Jesus's birth to the indigenous people. That's not where Jesus was born. And it's in the box of shame.
Yeah, it's frustrating when it's coming out of somewhere where you think you could trust, but unfortunately now you really do have to be very, very careful. So, like I said, we've tried to be very careful about, we're really, like with every additional book, like I said, we review it and just make sure that like what they're even talking about, like it makes sense. But like, I'm just thinking, is it Johnny Haddad? Not Johnny Haddad. The person who wrote the book about that it's been extremely popular with the screens, the technology. I'm forgetting his name, but he's not a Christian, but it was extremely helpful.
The Anxious Generation.
The Anxious Generation.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yes, that book. He had a lot of really great insight, and but he was clearly not a Christian. Or he is, he wasn't pretending to be or anything. But I do think that's helpful though. And I think that it's just good to have that perspective and to have that information because, we need it right now, specifically with screens. So that's one book. That's why I'm always like, well, as long, they may not be Christian, the author may not be a Christian. However, they still may have something really great to say. So, whether that's that they are a Christian or they're conservative or they are, like I said, just sharing general information that I think is really helpful. I think that it's important that we do include it because it'll help with that, navigating the cultural moment that we're in. And so we have done that.
Yeah. Excellent book. That was it's one of my favorites this year. I listened to that. I'm not a big listener to books, of learning books. I will listen to fun books because it's a story, but I am don't hate me, I'm a notes in the book kind of person. I definitely write in my books, and I can't do that if I'm listening. But I listened to it on the 6-hour drive home from camp, and I was like riveted. So that one, and then I read The Read Aloud Family this year and loved it. Like I devoured that book in like a week. Lots of notes. Also, I dog-ear my pages when I need to come back to it. So there were a lot of dog-eared pages, and it was so good. Just about, I was reading a book about reading a book because I'm that cool.
Yeah. Well, I highlight a ton. It's really helpful. I try to review all the books that I'm reading. So I highlight whatever I think is important, and it does help me to remember because half the time I'm exhausted by the time I'm finally getting to the book. So I never explained, I guess a little bit more about my background though. So we have 10 kids, and our youngest is 2 and our oldest is 23, and she actually just had a baby. So I'm technically a grandma. So, that's why I'm always exhausted at the end of the day. Although right now we only have 7 of our kids at home, and,
only 7, why are you exhausted? That's just 7.
Yeah. It seems quiet, which is crazy, but it does feel as if it's really quiet right now. But our two of our boys are in college, and like I said, our oldest is married, and she has a 1-month-old, so which is really fun.
It's exciting. Okay, so Mud Hen Mama, where did you get the name, or what does the name signify?
Okay, so the name. So when I had mentioned I homeschooled. So when we were homeschooling, I had a couple. First of all, I guess I should explain that I was trying to think of a name. I could not think of anything, and I was struggling to, think of something that could represent what I was trying to do, which is to, empower families and help them to be able to defend themselves from what was attacking them, whether or not they realized it. They needed to have some, information because you don't know what you don't know, right? So that was sort of what I was trying to communicate. So I prayed about it, and the Lord brought to mind that I had when I was homeschooling. There were 2 big honkin' books, and they were all about how these different animals had various characteristics of God. And so I was flipping through, and I came across the American Coot, which the nickname is Mud Hen. And so when I was reading about the characteristics of this American coot, it said that when they feel like something's trying to hurt them, like an enemy is coming to attack them, they all come together and they squawk at their enemy. And I was like, oh, that's sort of what I'm trying to do, is to, get us all together and to, say no, like we're not gonna do this anymore. We're standing our ground and you get away from us. And when we're all collectively together, I think it's just so much more powerful. There's synergy and all that stuff. So that's where Mud Hen came from, and Mud Hen Mama, just because I guess I'm a mom. And so I just figured this, and obviously I think moms in general are the ones who are choosing the books for their children. This is obviously for men too. So, I just thought, well, Mud Hen Mama is probably a little bit more appropriate because I think the moms are usually the gatekeepers. And so I want to really be able to help them to be able to help their children. And so that's where the name came from.
I love that. So Kidmin leaders, Mud Hen Mama is a great resource for you to pass along to your families. I'm a big fan of books. I think if you can read, you can do anything. So our house is full of books. Fun story, a friend had borrowed a book and 2 books, and she returned them, and I was putting them in their place on my bookshelf. I moved one book on my bookshelf, and my whole bookshelf in my bedroom was collapsing. Like it was bending at the seam, and I'm like holding it up and I'm yelling for my husband, and the whole bookshelf was coming down because it was like triple stacked. We have so many books. I got a new bookshelf that has more room. It's a corner one now it's great. Under my bed is full of books. I have 4 shelves in the basement. My son has piles of books in his floor because he can almost keep up with me, and I'm a fast reader. And he reads, like we have so many books in our house. We love books. So this is a great resource for you to pass along to your families. Hey, moms and dads, here is a way that you can have some of the legwork done for you. Go get a subscription. You have books that are good and wholesome, no surprises, books that are helping your family grow your faith. But then also maybe this is something you want to look at for your resource library. Parents are looking for things, and they don't necessarily know where to look. I just miss the days of Christian bookstores because now I waste money. I ordered 2 books last week, saw them recommended. Okay, when I check out these books, are these ones I want to recommend to families? And I am really, really picky. And both of them went into my no. They did not make it to the box of shame. I've thought about making a box of disappointment because one of them got one key area of theology wrong. The rest of it was wonderful. It was like 95% solid, but a little like side, it got the doctrine that we were made in the image of God. It got it wrong. And I'm like, I can't recommend you. So this could be a resource to you. Definitely go, and maybe you just need to peruse Mud Hen Mama's website and see. Maybe you want to start a subscription for your church library, whether you do the Here Parents, I've bought you books, or the Here Parents, look at this book, you should go buy your own. Hey, your time is busy. Here's a great resource for you. Get a subscription for your church so you can have some things sent to you that you can recommend to parents. Michelle, where can people find out more about you? How do they follow you, both social and then your website, to make their subscriptions?
So I made it super easy. It's all Mud Hen Mama. So, I guess I have to make sure that I spell it right though, because Mama, you'd be surprised how many different spellings there are for that. So it's MUD, like muddy shoes, HEN, like a chicken, and Mama is MAMA.com. But you can easily find me on Facebook and Instagram. That's where I'm most active on, are those 2 sites. So yeah, but I would love, if anyone has any suggestions too for books, I'm happy to look it over and see if it would be a good fit. But because we're always looking to, add more so that other people can be blessed by, great books that they don't have to worry about. So, we have a good selection as it is, but like I said, we're always looking to add more. So thanks so much again, Amber. This was great. I really, really appreciate you having me on.
So go to mudhenmama.com. Go follow Michelle on social media, Mud Hen Mama. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Give us your favorite book that you've read recently with your kids.
With my children. Okay.
Or grandkids. Will count if you're reading for her too.
Or a grandchild. There's this great book. It's Gotta Give It to God. I hope it's okay. It's a board book. We've read a couple of other books, like longer books, but Gotta Give It to God. It's just a sweet book because it's this little girl and actually my 2-year-old loves it. Like she actually pulls it out for me to read it to her. But it's just this little girl that's frustrated because she can't tie her shoes and she can't do all these little things, and she keeps saying, I just got to give it to God, because if God can calm the storm, then he can calm the storm that's in my heart. It's such a sweet book. I really, really like it. There's so many books like that, though. It's hard for me to even put to say like, oh, this is my ultimate, best one, but I do love that book. So I guess that would be my answer.
Oh, fun. Well, hey, there's one for you guys to check out, Kidmin Leader. It's not one that I've heard of, so I'm going to go look it up on Amazon and see.
Yeah. Or you can look it up on Mud Hen Mama.
I can go look it up on, see, there we go.
Just there you go, yeah.
Awesome. Michelle, thank you so much for being here. Kidmin friends, what we are consuming, what our kids are consuming, it matters. So be intentional with helping mom and dad realize this. They might not have a clue that what their kids are reading might be questionable. I know as a parent, I don't read everything that my kid reads. There's not that much time in my life. You are likely in the same boat. So this is a great resource. Point your parents to it so that they can be intentional in making sure that their kids are being filled with godly things, with wholesome things, not with the lies of the world. Go check out mudhenmama.com. Go follow Michelle on social media. And remember, Kidmin leaders, what you do matters.